Well, let's take a look at money matters now. The local bourse is firmer in midday trade with its global peers mixed as investors focus on key central bank policy decisions amid elevated inflation and questions about the impact of the Omicron variant. Chantal Marx is head of equity research at FNB Wealth and Investments. She joins us for a breakdown of business matters now. Very good afternoon to you. Happy Monday. So let's start with a sense of how the markets are performing thus far.
Markets are actually doing quite well, and I would actually categorize it as eerily quiet or eerily calm, and I think that is just ahead of the US Fed that's going to give us a sense of what their thinking is around the inflation pathway in that country, and then as a consequence their monetary decision making expectations as well.
Eerily calm. We'll take any sense of calm from any direction, I guess, at this point. Oil has extended gains after its biggest weekly advance in more than 3 months. Talk us through the driving factors.
Again, I think it's this calm returning to markets. I mean, if you look at volatility indicators across the board, it seems as if there's just a little bit less fear and stress in markets right now. And the same can be said for the oil market. So oil would have reacted quite negatively to the Omicron outbreak, as well as additional and renewed travel restrictions globally, with the expectation that people would move around a lot less because of the variant. As information is starting to come out, it seems as if this could be a factor in learning to live with COVID-19, and Omicron could be the first variant where you could see less travel restrictions or limited travel restrictions, or even in some instances no travel restrictions, and that's had a positive impact on the oil price just because of the knock-on effect that will have on demand for moving around.
Rio Tinto is set to cancel its Mongolian debt. The miner wants to expand its copper project. Help us make sense of that.
Yeah, so Rio Tinto is an interesting one. It's not a company that's listed on the JSE, so it's not necessarily a company that I look too closely at. But what I can say is that they have started pivoting their portfolio in a very similar way to what we've seen out of BHP Billiton, or BHP Group as they're now known, as well as Anglo American. They are actually just looking to get to a point where they are a more sustainable operation. They're getting rid of some of the dirtier business that they're doing, so with the focus on coal specifically, and they're pivoting into so-called green metals, of which copper is an important one. If you look at technological advancements, copper is key in that in most of those arenas or those areas. And if you look at something like electric vehicles, that is set to really change the way that people move. Again, talking about movement, but then copper is extremely important as well. So it's just a pivot of their portfolio, and in line with what we've been seeing out of the other diversified miners.
And Shoprite has formed a joint venture with 60/60 delivery partners. What does this mean, really?
So I think it's quite an interesting one, and I think that it does say that they take the investment that they've made in that business and the success that they've had in that business very seriously. So what they're effectively doing is they're joining forces with RTT, specifically on last mile delivery, and in that way they can safeguard what they already have, and they can also safeguard their technology that is far ahead of the rest of the market. So I think a logical step for them, and I thought it was quite interesting that they're going to almost run it as a separate business. So maybe one day we'll have a separation and perhaps a shareholder value creation opportunity on our hands.
Right. With the markets eerily quiet, I'm curious, with news of President Ramaphosa being in self-isolation as a result of COVID-19, but not displaying any major symptoms, were the markets tickled at all?
No, it doesn't seem as if the markets were tickled at all. He's not the first head of state globally to have contracted the virus. In this instance, we do have a president who is fully vaccinated. The presidency has said that his symptoms are quite mild, but he is self-isolating. So I think that for that reason, there's no reason for markets to really panic right now. We've seen this movie before, and it's played out in favor of a non-event.
And with that, we have to say thank you to Chantal Marx, Head of Equity Research at FNB Wealth and Investments.